Hello, and welcome to today's episode of our podcast where we'll be discussing the effects of moving frequently on children's development and self esteem. I'm your host, Dr. Serge Anthony, and another welcome to MEA Kidz podcast. Now, moving frequently can be a result of many factors, right? Sometimes you have to change jobs, or you just want to live somewhere else, or if you're in the military, certain deployments require you to leave the place where you grew up or where your children grew up in. But regardless of the reasons, frequent moving can have a significant consequence for kids. There's actually a number of them. The first one being emotional and behavioral effects. Now, when you move frequently, there's a range of emotional and behavioral issues that kids could have. Studies have shown that kids who move frequently are more likely to experience generalized anxiety, depression even, and other emotional difficulties. They may struggle to form close relationships with peers, and they may exhibit behavioral problems such as aggression or just acting out. Academically, moving frequently could also affect your child. Kids who move frequently may have difficulty adjusting to new schools, and then as a result, they may fall behind in their studies. Another consequence is that, they may struggle to make new friends and form relationships with teachers, which can further impact their academic success. Another issue is the self-esteem issue, the feeling of identity. Because you're moving frequently, kids who experience this, they may struggle to develop a sense of belonging because they're always on the move. They're never at home. They'll be here for some time and then they're off again. By the time they get used to the place, they're moving again. So they might get that feeling that they don't fit in anywhere, which obviously affects their self-esteem and their overall confidence. Moving frequently can also have an effect on their social skills. Because kids who move frequently, they usually struggle to make friends and form relationships because they're always the last one that arrived. For example, when I was a kid, I think I was 11, and we moved from the neighborhood I was basically born in and grew up in to a different neighborhood. And that wasn't the same city, it wasn't even that far. But the point being, for me, it was like moving to another planet because the neighborhood we moved into, I didn't know anybody there. The school I had to go to, I didn't know anybody there. And you can imagine all those kids in the school I went to, my new school, they'd been there since grade 1. So everybody knew each other. They were really close. So here I am arriving, in I think it was grade 5, as the new kid in town, basically, knowing nobody. And I think I made only one friend in the 2 years that I was in that school, grade 5 and grade 6. So I know the struggles. It really affects kids in a way you wouldn't imagine. Because moving even a neighborhood, from one neighborhood to the next, it could be like, for a child, it is basically moving to another country. And this can really affect, the ability to adapt, to new environments. Now, the last point is, I kind of touched on it already, but when you move frequently as a child, it affects your coping skills. Because every time you're in a new environment, and it could make it more difficult for you to adapt. So your coping mechanisms could be affected by moving frequently. And in the long term, this could affect mental health. It might not even be evident in that particular time or a couple of years after, but maybe even 5, 6, 7, 8 years later, kids develop, mental health issues or emotional issues because of the experience of moving frequently. Now, there's also a flip side to it because, kids who do cope with moving frequently, they could actually strengthen these skills. They can strengthen their social skills. They can strengthen their coping skills. They might even academically not lose that much. They might be able to, just navigate their way through, the whole frequently moving thing. But overall, it has a negative effect on the majority of the children that move frequently. Now, what can we do as parents? We as parents, if we do have to move frequently because of our jobs or other reasons, we need to be sure that we create a support system for our children in which they can navigate and feel comfortable to kind of serve as a buffer for them so that they don't feel that they're being left out. And, when you have a strong family unit and you give them that extra attention and you give them that extra positivity and, just go the extra mile to make them feel comfortable and safe, that could be a big help for them in those situations. So if you're a parent who's considering a move, I would say be aware of these potential consequences and at least take steps to support your child's emotional and social development, especially in the transition period. And even you might have to resort to seeking out counseling or therapy and working to create a stable and supportive environment for your child while you're on the move. All right, and this is the end of this episode. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you in the next one.